Hey guys, and how's it going? Hey, we're going to try to knock out this bobcat skid steer that I bought, oh geez, about 3 months ago now. And it has been an ongoing project because I know how to pick them. Anyway, quick backstory and then we'll get into it. So I bought it in a non-running condition. It is a Bobcat 642, something like that. Yeah, 642. And got into it, found that the engine that was in it, which was the 3-cylinder Kubota diesel, had no compression. Yanked the engine out, tore it apart, found it was pretty wore out. Bought a rebuild kit for that engine, found out that it was like 16 to 18 horsepower. More to the story. Yes, it gets better. So it originally came with a gas engine. It would have been like a Ford 4-cylinder gas motor. And apparently that blew up. They took that out. They put that Kubota diesel in there, which is too small. That blew up. And then it's our turn. I grabbed this, I think it's a Ferris mower for like a golf course. That the thing was all beat up. Anyway, it had a nice 3-cylinder diesel in it, but it was like 28 horsepower, 26 horsepower. So it's more fitting to what the machine needs. Anyway, in the last video, we took that engine and made it into the engine bay, got it mocked up to fit the transmission or the hydraulic pump, made radiator brackets, started hanging everything on it, made engine brackets for it, got it fired up, and watched it turn the wheels. There's no coolant in it, there's no fuel lines hooked up, nothing is, you know, finalized. It's just kind of mocked up and into place. So we're going to hopefully get it so that we got to pull the engine back out, do a bunch of stuff, but get it kind of finalized and get this thing out of here because I need my lift back and it's stuck underneath it. So last thing we did was we kind of mocked up the radiator for it. We kind of worked from the inside back and it is mostly in place. We need to make a little bit beefier of a bracket. So let's go get onto that now. So we're going to need to come up with a piece of metal that runs down the side of this and kind of gives it a little bit of stiffness to it. And then we'll start pulling the engine out and putting everything back together more permanent like. All right, go grab some tools. So I threw a pan underneath it just in case anything dripped out of it, and apparently did because that pan was empty. I think it's just diesel fluid from the lines from the tractor hanging. So before we make any fire, let's get rid of that. So I want to stiffen up the sides, get a piece of angle. It will go something like, I don't know, make it even. Something like that. I'll mark it. Cut them off. We'll just tack it maybe in place where it is. Let's go cut that. And we'll tack it, then we take it off, we can weld it up more permanent. Make one for each side. Yeah, let's see if that stiffens it up a little. Much better. Probably could have came up here a little bit higher, but it's just holding the radiator. Let's go make one out for the other side, and we'll start pulling some stuff apart. Yeah, both sides are in. That's much better. A little bit of flex. I don't even know if the bolts are tight. But that should do it. That shouldn't not kind of bounce around anymore. All right, let's get the radiator out of our way and we'll start. We got to mark up a couple of things before we pull the engine. Get a bit out of there. I didn't think about the fact that it's both on the inside. Whoops. I have to rethink that a little bit. Good. All right, let's continue to disassemble. We got a mark where where the drain plug is on the engine. We'll figure out where that is, and we'll take a little paint stick or something. All right, there's the plug. So I'll come down below that and I'll mark that, and we'll cut it with a plasma cutter once the engine's out. Let's go for, we'll just put a dot there for now, I guess. Anything right about, oh, there. Yeah, a little that way. Because you got to figure we're going to be coming in with an extension. It's on a slight angle. Alright, so we can disconnect some of our stuff. We got a throttle made up and get rid of. We can unbolt the motor mounts. I want you to leave them. We got to finish welding these up too. They got to come out. We could take the exhaust off. That might be just sitting there. We got to finish welding all that up too. So we'll unbolt that clamp. I think there's one in the back. There's a bolt here. Get that off and unbolt the motor mounts, and we'll get the forklift in here. We'll hook back up to the chain again. That'll be loud. That, and it's got a flex pipe. Should come out. Maybe not. We'll unbolt it from the flange. How's that? The exhaust manifold's only got one bolt on it. Let's get that out of the way. Make the package a little smaller to get in there. Get out of there. You know what I meant. Getting smaller. Let's we got a power wire on the starter and that throttle. Actually, most of just take everything off that we kind of mocked up because it's all got to be gone through. Let's get rid of the alternator. I don't even know if it's bolted in all the way. That lower motor mount out of there. Actually, might be just got it back right up right now the way it is. Yellow something stays connected. If not, it's your fault. Why you no go? What's in there that we forgot? Should be just slipped on that sleeve on that transmission. Is a collar in there? Let's go see. Yeah, I think it's just a collar back there. Both motor mounts in the back are already out. There's nothing connected here. These are free. You can get the bolts right out of it. You see anything? Is the flywheel hitting up there? Maybe that's it. Because the bracket's still bolted to the back wall. Maybe the flywheel's hanging up. You got a better view than I do. I think that... No, flywheel's on the other side. What is your problem? Why you no go? I'm gonna get a pry bar and pry on that coupler right there a little bit, so you can get it to walk out. Captain Hook to the rescue. I think you just had a tad too much up pressure. You think? Alright, let's go back up now. I'll let her down a little bit. And just in case, slide a crappy tire under it. Gives us a fighting chance if we drop it. We gotta take all this apart and Loctite it. This goes lower to the ground now. I'll leave it right there. We'll get back to that in a minute. Let's go work on that engine bay. So I think what happened in here, where it's all greasy and the fuel line was connected to the engine, but I don't think it had a tight fit. That and where the return was leaking, and it pissed out about a gallon of diesel, which went in that most of that cart down there. But we got a plasma cut, so I'm going to take a little bit of time. We'll wipe down this engine bay in here and get rid of some of the crap that's floating around, because we have to make a hole right there. So I'm going to try cutting with a plasma cutter that I got, but we're pushing it. That's got to be, that's more than a 1/4 inch thick, maybe 3/8 plate that we need to go cut through. And I don't know, maybe about a 2-inch circle. Let's go see if we can find something we can kind of like lay on for a template to run the torch around, get a little maybe smoother cut than that. See if we can find like a ridiculously large washer. And I think there's a couple containers over here that have like bushings and stuff in them. I don't want to use any lathe stuff. I don't want, it's gonna get beat up. Probably go around the outside of one of them. Let's see if we can find something. What's that brass right there? That's too big. That flange. What's that? You want something to, you know, if it's flat, it would be better. Like I said, like a washer. Roll tape. That's about the right size, torch-wise, on the inside. We'll keep this in mind. Keep looking. There's anything big enough in here? You know, I'm thinking, what about like, how about like a hose clamp? We can make it the size we want, and maybe, what's that right there? Hold on to that. Maybe, like I said, a hose clamp, and like a big one, right? We can make the circle the size we want. If we find a, maybe surround it with magnets or something. Keep looking. How about if we take, it'll erase it, got cut off. If we take this, maybe we weld it on the inside, right over where we want, and we run the torch or on the outside of the circle. Let's give that a shot. Because the torch is only, let me go get it. Yeah, because this is what we have for a shoulder to work with, you know? You want to try to maintain an even gap. I wonder if we can, maybe that'll be, that could be too big though. That's going to be, let's go with it like that. I think it'll fit the profile of this pretty good. Think it's going to make it through? We're going to find out. If not, I got a backup plan. Alright, so we want to tack that right there. We need to scuff up a little bit of paint. Yeah, well, watch your retinas there. Let's go see how this works out for us. Smoke them if you got them. I think if we can get like penetrate, once we get a hole blown through, it'll go, but big if. Making it through? I think so. I think that works sometimes. I gotta move you out of the way. I gotta try to get over on this side. I can't push the torch because it binds up too much. I gotta pull it and drag it backwards. Seems to be the ticket. I get the strange feeling we could have done better freehand. You don't know until you try. Let's go whack that with a hammer, see if it'll pop out of there. We're in. It's a little bit more circular than that one, but just as cruddy. We got a hole. I think if we came up with a hammer and we drove it upward, it would have popped right out because the walls are tapered. I ended up taping them in, so we were trying to drive it through a hole that got, you know, tighter as it went in. Oh, stop it. Alright, let that cool off about an hour. This whole thing is cooking. Wouldn't it be ironic if this puck fit in there? We could probably, I don't know. Do we need to even bother closing? It's just that, like, when the skid steer is kind of running around, like sticks and stuff, I don't want to come up and stab through it, maybe. I don't know. I ain't gonna grind that to fit. I don't know about you, when I was a kid, every cartoon was able to just take the hole and slide it over. Never had a problem. I actually decided to clean that puck up. If we have the plasma cutter out, if we make a circle on here, maybe we can kind of trim this one to match that. I didn't want to try sanding that down to fit in this, but maybe we could take a plasma cutter, kind of clean this up, get this one to drop in and buzz it back on. Something like that. You figure I work off of one edge, just having to make everything larger. What's good is if you use a stone, I forget what these are called, but it's a stone, white stone, and something like that. This, when it gets hot, it doesn't, like if you use a marker, it'll burn away on you, but the stone doesn't disappear when you're trying to do some trimming. So I'm gonna try freehanding that, see if we can kind of get like within inside that line, and the puck should be able to get dropped down in there. Might go in. I'm going to mark the puck a little bit. I'm going to grind on the puck just a little and get that to drop down. It's like almost there. Alright, I'm going to tweak that a little bit. I think we got it though. Almost. See if that'll beat its way in there. You're waiting me to hit my finger, aren't you? Yeah, me too. I think we got that. A little bit more whacking. Get her flush. Hit it with a grinder and we'll buzz it up. would think Bugs Bunny would be quite proud. I know it's a brake cleaner, just kind of knock off the heavy oil that's on it. Looking for some crappy cans, what I got left for, you know, whatever paints, even if these will spray. I'm going to shake these up, see if we can spray these down there, just so there's something on it. What do we got? Washable, moisture resistant, smooth, factory-like finish, ultra hard. I'll be the judge of that. Might not even spray. It's been probably there for 8 years. Primer? You don't need no stinking primer. Alright. I'm gonna go cast that over it. Clean it up a little bit. It'll be easier when we drop a bolt, we'll be able to find it. We'll burn up the can in there. Almond. It's almond color. Almond flavor. Look at that quick tack on the bare spots. Let that set up a minute and then I'll hit the whole thing. You can't even tell where the hole was, can you? From 20 feet away. Let's I want to get the brackets off for the motor mounts. We'll grab that one out of there. I probably should have done that before I painted it. The dirt's gonna come down. We'll grab that one and we'll take the red one off the front of the motor. I'll finish welding them up and I'll throw some paint on those and we'll let them set overnight and then we can come back and have at it, start putting stuff back together. And we had to weld all the backs of them that I couldn't get to. So get rid of some of the oil that's on them. That'll cause it to bubble up, kick back. Just carb cleaner, brake cleaner thinner would probably work better. We are going to find out right about now. What'd you do with my gloves? Alright, what color you want to go for? Again, I'm trying to use up all this crap that's in there, so that's what we're digging for. Let's go for, I actually kind of like the red that was, what's that, apple red, satin. There's a couple of them in there. Save that for machine just in case. Apple red gloss. What else we got? Another red down there. It's starting to sound like apple red is our our go-to. I think that's what's the toolbox, the Snap-on toolbox I got painted with. Yeah. Let's go use a can of that up. All right, it's like a few days later. All that painted stuff is dry. One thing we gotta definitely deal with is the spinning pieces back here are bolted together, and it's kind of like all that homemade stuff. And I want to Loctite it together because I'm afraid it's going to go blowing apart. I'm not sure if that's metric or standard. So I think I put the Allen bolts on first. Yeah. And then the big bolts have to come out. Yeah, so that I definitely wouldn't have trusted. So let me go take a minute. We'll take this knuckle off of here, get these bolts off, we'll Loctite them, and then we'll kind of reassemble it. Put some grease in it, and maybe we'll doctor up the engine bay a little bit, kind of like some of the wiring, that fuel pump, and then we'll get the engine back in. Different kinds of Loctite. Generally goes by the color. Blue. This is blue. Blue's removable. Kind of like with hand tools. There's a red. I think it pretty much goes by the color. Anyway, blue's kind of removable. Red is removable with much more force. I think you got to put heat on it. The amount of heat that this generates wouldn't be enough to do it, but I don't have any red, so we're just going to go with the blue. It does have lock washers on it too, but I'd rather be a little safe than sorry. I'm not that concerned about these coming loose more than the smaller set screws. If there's any play in it, that's what will get you. Like if this thing is able to like accelerate and slow down, accelerate and slow down, if there's any play that's not keyed or snug, generally the bolts get a little stretched out. Once they get a little bit stretched out, they back off. I'm going to go do that to all these. And then we can throw the yoke back on it, the knuckle. I guess you can kind of think of it like it's glue for screws. And you don't have to coat the living bejesus out of it. I just essentially put a line down each one. I pre-did them all. Kind of gets absorbed. But again, it works as a glue for the threads. As you like, whatever was on there before looks like it was white, possibly. Yeah, get started. I marked it where it came apart too. Yeah, there you go. So I'm gonna run all four of those in. I take a hammer and I'll just whack on the Allen wrench to give them a good snug down. It's always one. Try swapping in position on that one. No, it doesn't seem like it wants to start. Shoot my load. There it goes. Now hopefully we can get that top one. Tight. Might be a good idea to get rid of the old crappy oil too, huh? Plus, hopefully we can get that oil filter off. There might be a number on it. Let's see what it's supposed to have. Pick one of them up. Bet you this is gonna be nice and clean. Oh yeah. No metal bits coming out of it. That's a good sign though. Diesel oil. Diesel oil. Looks like crap after the first 20 minutes of running it. I think the chances are that it's not gonna overflow that pan. Let's get that oil filter off. Admit it, you can admit it if you like my drain pan setup. I know. I just got lucky. Oh, there's numbers on it. Awesome. Maybe we'll see if I can dig one of them up. The parts store before they close. Kind of wondered too, is fuel line different for a diesel engine that it is a gas engine? Like, can you use gas fuel line on diesel line? Not the high pressure stuff, but you know, the regular, what's it? That pump is probably like 13 PSI. So it's not a high pressure line, I don't mean that. Just, I wonder if it will corrode it or not. Oh, you suck. Yeah, keep it to yourself. Moron. What are you, a moron? Timestamp. Feel that surface, make sure you get no crap on it. Hey, here's the mess that we have that's kind of left behind. Wiring, I think, I'm not going to gut all that and start over again. I'm not quite sure what's up, you want to call it the cab, as far as switches and all. We could probably chase that, as long as I leave the radiator out and like we work our way around it. I have access to the engine, and what we will and won't use is still kind of like up in the air. We could drop this hose down. But the fuel filter, fuel pump I should say, which is that right there, kind of like half-assed on the back firewall there. I'm not sure if it's bolted or it's got a tie wrap on it. Oh, it's got a hose clamp right here. I think maybe what we'll do is we'll kick this over this way and maybe we'll screw it to the wall. That's pretty thick stuff too to tap through. Let's get this off. We'll kick it over more. We'll get rid of this fuel line. It's too short. This is the return that they made. Again, it was a gas engine, so it didn't have a return. It just used it up on a carburetor, but they put this thing in. It probably just goes right back and dribbles back in the tank. So we'll get that. We'll clean up the power leads to it. It looks like they have like open wires, not even connected to it. So we'll figure out how that's supposed to go and clean some of that stuff up too. Like we got a splice here, a splice here, and then there's gonna be another splice with wire nuts on it. So I'm gonna take a few minutes, chase some of this stuff, clean it up, and make it a little bit more safe in the long run. Probably leave that fuel line on the tank. It doesn't look like it's funky. Again, it's been having diesel run through it, so I don't think they have the issues that gas does, where it deteriorates the line. But I may be wrong. I guess we're gonna find out. So I'd say that back wall's pretty thick. I should probably check and see if there's a fuel tank behind there. It's like drilling in a boat. We go make sure there's a little bit of space between there. We'll try getting a self-tapper through that. Yeah, the tank is right there. So I don't think that'd be the greatest of ideas. Maybe we can, maybe we'll take like a bolt. We'll clean up the surface a little bit right here. We'll put a bolt on it, and we'll put a couple tacks. So we'll just have a stud sticking out that we can put bolt it up right up, something like that. I cleared off a spot right there. I got a bolt with a couple nuts on it. So hopefully we can hold that on there, get a tack on it. Might be better off just trying to use pliers. Yeah. We'll clamp this onto something metal, the ground clamp, and then we'll hit it. Hit it. Let's see if we can get a bolt buzzed on there. Tad sideways to get it straightened out, see if it breaks off. And there's that. Stop it. Nonsense. Left a rag down there. Second time I'm in this machine. I'm getting good. Yeah, I was afraid it's gonna fall right off. Let me see if we can get a buzz on the back side of that. Smooth. I just have regular nuts on there right now. Pop those off. I got a jam nut, so we don't have to worry about vibration and lock screws and all. Go throw that pump up there with that. Well, I got the welding on. I'm also knock out the 2 exhaust brackets. I got that one and that one to take care of. That's kind of bolted up there with a jam nut. Going anywhere. And look at the rest of this mess of this wiring we're seeing. And we got tie wraps kind of hold. So I think we should probably just cut everything free. Maybe we'll try to route maybe up a little higher or something. Again, a lot of the stuff probably doesn't even go to where the same location it was. So, you know, where they have it kind of closed off. I'm going to call it that. Where they have it oriented to. Is that the word we're looking for? We'll just cut all this crap off of here and we'll start letting these wires, let them be free and untangled. And who knows, like I said, everything was wired from something else. Looks like they have all the same wire. Right, it's all the same red wire. They probably just had a spool of. So let's get rid of all this crap. Not sure what we are and aren't going to keep. I did mark a bunch of the stuff where it did go. But nothing saying that's what we're going to use over again. Oof. Good thing it's a diesel. Really needs one wire to run for the most part. Charging and all that kind of other stuff, a little different. Alright, I'm going to work 2 hands. I'm going to get all this crap off of here and stretch it out a little bit. Well, that's a little better. Pretty much it comes out on that one wiring harness loom. As you go along, we could probably tuck some of the wires back in it, but right now I'm just going to kind of leave them flopping out. Some of them were redundant. They went in a circle. Yes, they did. And the ground was like a piece together. Had like 5 wires on it attached together, and it went about you know, down around the corner, and it grounded out somewhere down here. And I just took the ground wire, black wire right there, just ran it back to itself and grounded it on that, and then we ran the one hot wire, got rid of all those jumpers that were in that. We have one right there. I hooked it up to what was there, whether it has power or not, we're gonna go find out. So that's what I'm kind of cautious about, you know, finalizing everything, getting really neat, because you don't know where it's gonna go. Looks like charging wires maybe. I'm gonna go throw the engine back in and get the cradle all back in its place and all, because I think everything else we're just gonna kind of want to dress while it's in there and figure out where they're gonna go and get, like, you know, the right length going to them. So I'm quite sure what I'm gonna film. We gotta leave room for a battery. Gotta get a battery probably in this corner. Just giving her a quick look over, see if there's anything that we can take care of while it's apart. Let's go throw this bracket maybe back on. I'll catch this pipe that's floating. Yeah, get a piece of gas line or something around that piece of fuel line and bolt that down before the motor's in. So I ended up taking that hydraulic hose that was kind of all flapping around the bottom down there, and I ended up running it up the wall. You got a bunch of these brackets kind of keep from chafing. Across, I undid it. It had like a big twist into it. Came down across that back wall and back to that connector where it was. It probably had a short pipe, maybe even it might even been a solid copper one, like one of those. And it failed or whatever, and somebody had something laying around and put that 12-foot piece of hose in there. Anyway, it's good enough. It's out of our way. I think now we should kind of pick away at, I got the battery. Like, I don't know if we need to make like a tray of some sort, like a piece of angle that we like weld in to lock the battery in. You got a stud sticking out of here. I don't want to rub it against that. I'm gonna look, see if I got like a battery tray from maybe like a car or something that we can, you know, just kind of bolt down through here and then have the typical tie downs. And then I think we'll start working on, we can wire the starter, get the exhaust manifold. We got a busted stud on the manifold I got to take care of, and we can start working our way back outward. Yeah. So there's the battery that was in the, I think I was in this thing. Let's, it had to have a tray or something, right? Where was it? Actually, I think it was sitting right in here. That's not gonna do us any good. Could possibly seal that bracket if we want, but I picked that battery up and dragged it over. Give ourselves an idea what we got. You know, I want to stay away from that bolt in there, but I would like to try to get it. We have one hole down there. Might be able to make like a bracket that comes up we could hook onto. And then the other one there. I wonder if we should maybe even, we can look, see what we can dig up. See if we can get for, yeah, we could always weld some angle to the base of it to try to lock it from sliding around. I did a little scrounging, see what we can come up with. I found this in a parts car. It's one of the typical battery hold down brackets. But if we take a piece of angle, we'll drill a hole and we'll utilize that hole right there. We could bolt that down into place, and then we'll drill 2 holes for this to grab. We just kind of cinch it down, something like that. I'm just kind of wondering if it's going to want to like lift up or not. Let's go find out. Drill some holes. you out of bullets. This one you got to use upside down. The hose came off inside. Figured battery acid's gonna be getting all over that, so try to cut it with at least something. So I've been chasing a bunch of hoses and all, got everything more buttoned up, and I put the fuel lines on. See if we can get in there to bleed it. It might not be any fuel left in it. Now we need a wrench for that. 12? 13? What's your guess? Who said 12? You're right. We have fluid piston out of it. Exactly say that's there goes the air. Now we got it. Diesels do not like air. Let's try cracking a line up higher on one of the fuel injectors and see if we get anything up there. You're gonna need like a 17. There we go. See if it's enough to push through the pump. We have to crank it and do it. Because the other one's just kind of like a low pressure pump. And then it goes to an injection pump. Injection pump is kind of like a high pressure thing, which is enough to overcome the injectors. Yeah, not able to bleed through. Let's we'll leave that open. We'll put a crank button on it, and we'll crank it. We'll keep an eye on it, see if we can get fluid to come up. I got, what do I got? What was I got? Oh, I got a full of oil. That's what I wanted to say. I don't know how much battery there is. See a little bit of dripping underneath. There you go. Let's tighten that up. I'm going to throw a battery charger on the battery a little bit. And it may fire. I don't want to run it long. But it'll be nice to see if we get everything kind of squared away. That's what she does. Got no exhaust manifold. No, a lot of things. Let me just see if she goes over though. Make sure we don't have no wires rubbing on the flywheel. We're good. Give her a little bit of throttle. For some reason, the kill is sparking. This has juice on it and it shouldn't. Awesome. Fuel system's working. Good. And that much closer, go turn the key off. Yeah, this is just a, you know what it is? I know what it's doing. It doesn't have a ground going from, there's no ground going from the block to the chassis. There's only a ground going there. So it was trying to ground through that little wire. So we still have to make a jumper and I have to get a better lead. Note to self. That's all right. At least we're getting there. I was like, why is that arcing? That doesn't make any sense. Didn't have a ground path. All right, let's go shut that down. I'm gonna go buy some parts. All right, so we need a ground cable. We need a hot lead. We need a, that is no good for the, that's the shut off to kill the engine. You pull on that right there and it shuts the fuel off, I believe. And what else we got that we have to get? Let's grab some coolant when we get that hooked up. And I have to get that sensor. We have a plug for the cooling system. Goes in there and it's like hard cabled. It's a gauge. We got to run that up from front someplace, and I believe that is our temp gauge. Found this piece of wire. We can make that our jumper. We just have to go anywhere on the chassis to anywhere on the block. Probably will go from like there to there maybe. All right, so next day I did a little bit of shopping. Able to grab a couple of cables, and I did find Yeah, like for your lawnmower, for the throttle. That's kind of what's on that shutoff for the fuel anyway. So I'm going to try replacing it with the same kind of setup and see if that works for us. All right, I'm going to go knock those cables out real quick. I'll bring you back probably when we're putting that cable on there. Get that cable out of there, and it's got a pinch bolt on this end. Doesn't need any kind of like brake on it, but the amount of room that we have to work with is not all that great. That's pretty much what's going to be sticking out. So let's back it up and cut off about, I don't know, maybe about an inch and a half of cable, so that we have a little bit more room to finesse. New toy was at Home Depot. They had it on a clearance. It was like I think like 5 or 6 12-volt tools with 2 batteries for $169. I grabbed them. Kind of like this. It came with 2 batteries, this driver, this saw, and a drill that's over in the work area right now. Yeah, that guy right there. Looks like it goes into the abyss out front. Let's tape these together, and I'll just unbolt the one that's up there, and we'll just pull it through. I don't know. We could, this thing, you could flip the seat forward on it, but you got to lift the cage and all that. Okay. Eventually, I'll probably end up screwing with it, but for now. That shouldn't fall apart, right? Let me get more on there. That's just going to pull right apart. Well, because I need to get in and out of the machine, I'm going to try firing it up while I'm in it. See if I can lower that bucket, because right now it's a pain in the ass. I have it blocked up in the air with a hunk of wood right there. So let's go see how that works. Wish me well. Yeah, this ought to be graceful. Might go just crank it. Even if it doesn't start, just crank it so the hydraulics are up. Usually this is down when you're trying to get in it. Not this mess. And they got the bar. It's in the wrong position. Suck if it doesn't crank. Going the wrong way. Forgot I couldn't shut it off. I turned the key off inside. I'm like, well, that's not going to do anything. Good. At least the hydraulics moved enough to go take care of that. Tried to curl the bucket. I was going the wrong way. All right, now that we heated it up, quick peek, make sure nothing got foul. All right, now I can get in and out of it. I'm going to go pull this cable through that we got hooked up to it and get that shut off that I needed right now connected. If you would guide that for me, I'd greatly appreciate it. Let's Give it a fighting chance. Stuck! What are we stuck on? Oh, we push it. Got it. How much room we got on this side? Oh, plenty. Awesome. Don't mind the background noise. It's just the heat coming on. Because an hour ago I had the door open. It was 55 degrees and now it's 30. Welcome to New England. Alright, so we got this cable coming through and this is the shut off. So that's run position and that is off. You can kind of hear it click. My guess is that maybe it puts the pump in neutral. But we have to hook a cable to it and then we'll be able to pull in that direction, which is trying to mount somewhere up here, but I don't see anything we can really attach to. How about, so that has to have a bolt on it, right? Oh, that's a nut or bolt that probably goes right through the pump though. I was thinking maybe we can come off where that bracket is and make another bracket coming up to grab it. You thought it would have been simple, wouldn't you? How about we steal the brake lever setup? We can use, I think this is steel. Yeah, it's rusty. This is steel we can weld to it, and we can maybe even use the two pieces. One to support the metal cable that we have, and then we'll take this little bolt with a through hole through it. Maybe we could bolt that to that lever that's on there, and we can bend and modify this up to weld to where that bracket is on the dipstick. Let's go steal it. Okay, so we want this bracket part of it, I guess. Right? Yeah, we want that mount. So get rid of the rest of the crap. And that's kind of what we're going to work with. So we need, the metal cable should fit through that, and kind of cut and modify this to maybe weld onto that bracket that has the dipstick. Might even be able to bolt where the dipstick is. Let's go look. Okay, so we need to have that facing right about there. Look how close that is. No shit. Let's we can see if I could angle. If I angle this more like that, I think we could probably bolt right to that same. Yes, here's it. If that was bolted straight up, it's straight up and down. So if I could lean that back right about there. Actually, we have to come out too, don't we? Still, I can get it right about there. Let's go bend it and find out. We need, because it's actually down here. Let me shorten it up some. We need to be right where the dipstick is. That's where we need to be. Can we just weld it right to the side of that maybe? Is this strong enough? Yeah. Maybe we could do that. I wonder if we're going to lose oil though. If we take the dipstick, like this bracket off and pull the dipstick out, it's going to piss oil out. I'm going to have to work with it right in there. We'll get it. Think it'll go without heat? Yep. I know I went too far. Yeah, I was trying to get it with the bend on it and see if I can get it, down far enough. But the angle of this is just too far. So I'm like, well, what if I just spin it around and we weld these two parts together, and that kind of points straight at that guy. I'm talking about where my thumb is. And probably even just leave that rest of it on there. You can support, it can rest against the block. But let's go prep these two surfaces up. We'll weld these together. Probably right about there should be good, I think. I'm not even going to take it off. I'm going to try to do it right there. Well, it's looking pretty good. Here's the little bolt that will pinch the cable that we got off the brakes. That's going to go on there. We need to get rid of this jacket though, because I want this to sit up in its normally threaded location up there. So we just have to pull that center of that cable out and cut back a little bit more on the outer jacket. Then we can put all of it back together. Oh yeah, had to drill that out too to give a little bit of room. Would have been nice if this could pivot a little bit, but that's fine. We only need to really make it go from there to there is really where off is. Let's give it a trial run. That should be run. That should be dead. I can pull a little harder too. Am I all the way up? All the way up. Good. Does it return? That should be fine. All right, we're good. We want to jump on next. Let's go. Probably gonna do the cooling system last. Let's go get the exhaust done and out of the way, and then we'll go from the exhaust maybe to the alternator, and then of course the last thing would be the cooling. That way it's not in our way. I think we have a broken stud on the manifold that we got to deal with. We got it over in the vise, and of course it's the only stud that doesn't go through. You just drill it, put a bolt in it. It's tapped into I think a blind hole. Yeah, doesn't go through. So there's no poking out the other end. The gasket, I wonder if I seem to remember when we were taking it apart, I didn't use heat on this one, obviously. And then the other three I used heat on. I was able to get the nut off, but I don't know if that's going to help us getting the stud out. You want to try throwing vice grips on it and heating the crap out of it? See if it'll work? Yeah, try it. I just don't want to crack anything. Specialty tools, just for this purpose. You get more power, closer to the pivot of the jaw you get. More power you get. For shits and... Oh, no way. Alright, I'll go with that. It's all set to heat it up. Very rare that it goes the other direction, right? It goes easier than you thought. Good. Moving right along. Just saved about 45 minutes of crap. Go see what I can find for a stud. Worst case, we'll just put a bolt in there. It's just that flange has to go on it. So, might be able to just put a bolt in that. I threw a bolt in here because the gasket was floating. I couldn't get it off the rest of the way. I didn't want to trash it. So I just kind of threw this in here to hold things in place. And it worked. So we got one stud, put a nut on. I think the rest of them are bolts. I just so happen to have a handful of bolts. So we'll run that down. Kind of wanted to eyeball it too for running some of the other cables. Make sure I'm going to be away from the heat, the ones that are flapping back here. Gotta try to figure out how to tuck them out of harm's way. Don't cook them. Alright, so I'll run them down, and we'll put the top pipe on it, and put the muffler up on top, and all that good stuff. All that stuff's already been fabricated. Hopefully it's all in the same place. Sometimes you put something back together and you're like, what the hell? How did that all figured out? Be a little quieter. Nuts don't want to go on. Hate that. So a couple of the last wires are glow plugs. Doesn't seem like it needs it right now, but so it's got two wires going to the front. They are right here. These two coming across. I got them hooked up to a meter, and I traced that back to that red button right there, which you would think it would be for like shutting it off or something. But like right now it's open, then I push the button down. It goes to close, so that's the circuit. I'm gonna go wire them up. It's already got a fuse on one side of the wire. It's already a fuse there, so it's a fuse circuit. So that connects to the battery, and then this one just goes to the last terminal right there on the glow plugs, and that's just for when it's cold. Little coils heat up and preheat the combustion chamber. Well, it's looking pretty tight. Kind of cleaned up all the wiring. I ended up using it's like a Velcro tie wraps. It looks something like that. They're pretty cool. You can link them together, and you know, again, you can take them right apart and put them back on, and they don't fatigue over time like, you know, some of the tie wraps. They get brittle. So everything is hooked up and kind of tucked out of the way, not near that flywheel in the back and not near the exhaust. We have the alternator, which is kind of next, and I started looking at the alternator that was on this engine, and it has a external voltage regulator, which makes things a little bit more complicated. But the original, I shouldn't say the original, the Kubota engine that was in here before was more like a one wire. I'll show you. So this is externally regulated. This is the one that was in there, plus the terminals are looking kind of cruddy on it. And this is the one that was on the Kubota engine, which pretty much just has battery out. And I think this goes to a gauge, I'm not sure. It may work just like a GM one-wire alternator. It's just everything's tied into itself. I don't even know if it's any good, but anyway. So that would just tap into somewhere on the battery side of things, and then the regulator is built into it right inside there, where this one has a separate one that's still inside the machine. We'd have to go wire it all out. The plugs are rotted out. So I am going to go and try to see if we can get that set up on the machine. I saw the brackets. I think it is might be a hair out too far. This is the belt that was on the other alternator. Let's see how close we get. Well, it just wants to play. Let me go and tighten that. Plus I got like a mismatch in bolts here. I got to drill out the block for a larger bolt. Let's just go tighten that. Spoke too soon. We need, what do we need? I'll try finding a shorter belt. So we need, yeah, we gotta go that far. Bet you the mount's in a different spot. Because this looks about the same. Maybe we can find a little bit shorter belt. And somewhere in the lane of lost opportunity, we should find what we need. These are probably snowmobile belts. And they're larger. And I generally have them kind of going in size, larger to smaller. So let's go poke around and see if we can find something that might fit the bill. Alright, that's the one that we had. We got these to choose from. Let's just start grabbing them and seeing who wants to play well. Problem is we don't have that much room because it hits. I have a feeling we can modify that bracket if we have to. Way too short. Or we can actually spend $1 and buy a belt too. Is the other part of it. That one's super close. We'll keep that one to the side. Plus it's not spin, like before it spun a fan. And now it's not doing that. Way too short. Yeah, I think that's going to be too short. I wonder if we could just take that. I'm going to look one last time, but I wonder if we can take and modify. We'll just cut that bracket and give it some length to it. That's not it. Here it is. Yeah, maybe we'll just take this and modify it to go that far. You agree? Maybe you can just make it like an adapter, like something that bolts here and then bolts onto that. How about the piece of the one off the other alternator? It's kind of a goofy piece, but yeah, it's a whole odd kind of setup though. We'll get something. Well, I have to do a little bit more, and I got a belt that just like kind of fits. We still have to get the correct one. You can see it's not even fitting in the groove correctly. But I kind of want to fire it up and just see if we got like a charging system working. Plus we could check some of the other stuff. So let's go turn that battery on. That should kick our voltage up. There you go. All right, we're at 12.77. Let's go fire it up, and that should jump up to like 13.5, something like that. Okay, we can check our shut off too. Hopefully you can see the meter. Looks like it's grayed out. I'll bring you over there. Give it a little bit of throttle. And our dead man works, or our throttle kill. Turn the key off. All right, so we got no charging. I don't know if that wire has to be hooked up to something else. Possibly, maybe it's a keyed output. Let's try jumping that. I don't know if it's ground or 12 volts though. What do you think? 50-50 shot. Maybe we'll fire it up and we'll just tap it real quick and we'll watch the meter. Kind of looked real quick, see what we come up with. Pretty much what I'm thinking is maybe that's a switched output, meaning that there's our hot lead going out, and then saying one for the a light, the dash light, which I don't even see on there. You probably went with a gauge. So and the other terminal is going to 12 volts. It's just switched live. So let's go try. We'll put a jumper on it. We'll fire it back up again. And we'll just touch it to the hot lead, and we'll watch the meter. We'll see if it jumps up. Let's try it again. Got it. Awesome. Key off. So if we hook that to the fuel pump circuit, so whenever the key is on, the fuel pump's running, it'll make it so it's charging. So that'll take care of that. Good, we're getting there. I'm gonna get a new belt. I'll probably do that tomorrow. It's getting late in the day. Yeah, we'll get a new belt on it that's kind of fitting in the gap right. If we have to adjust that, we will. And what else we gotta do? I gotta drill that out because right now it's like, that's, just make up a number. That's like a 5/16 bore on the alternator, and then on the block it's a larger hole, smaller hole. One of them. They gotta get the same size so we have a bolt that snugs up that bottom so it doesn't want to loosen up as it runs. Hey, you know what that extra wire is hanging out? That is switched power. And those two should plug right together. That was easy. Alright, it's the next day. I got a belt, I believe is a 1/2 inch smaller. Might have to go even less than that. But let's go quickly throw that on. See if it brings us in the window. And we still have to take that alternator off and drill it, but let's see. Yeah, it's not much room to work with, huh? Yeah. Gotta go smaller. Quite a bit smaller, it looks like. I was an inch too big once in my life. Got that fixed. Good to go. All right, I'm gonna go pull that back out and we'll go drill the setup that's in here. So we need that hole and that hole to be the same size. So let's fix that. Ow. New drill. Kick her down in a little gear. That was easy. All right, Now we can get a bolt that fits. This is what was in there before. It was sloppy, so it wasn't locking it in decent. I'll get one that fits the correct size. As that part's taken care of, I actually opened up the slide a little bit, give it a little bit more room for the future when it wears in. Temperature sensor. This engine had a switch screwed into here, and it was like a tube or thermocouple. It's like one complete circuit. You can't, it's not a wire. And the engine that was in here before had a wired system going to a temp gauge right there on the right, I believe it is. And that's the setup that was here. I'm kind of wondering, I'll show you. I think we just unthreaded it from the engine. Where is it? Here it is. This red tube right here. Like, that's not a wire, you can't cut it. It's like a thermocouple. And this probe went into the engine, it sensed the temperature, and it went over to that, I think the temp gauge right there is what it was hooked up to. So we'd have to kind of take that whole system and try to figure out a way to get it in there. But let's go look at the old engine sheet metal, see if we could find what was it used before. Possibly we can use that and keep the same setup. Yeah, so here's the engine that came out. I did buy a rebuild kit for this one. For those who don't know, at some point we're going to do it because it cost me $500. Just that we figured out the horsepower was too small. So somewhere on here that hasn't been removed yet should be something like threaded into the water jacket somewhere. I'll keep looking. That sent the signal back for a gauge as far as what temperature it was, I would think. All right, I'm gonna look on some of the tins too that came off of there. Possibly it's on that or in a jar. It might have been threaded in. I would think it would be to the block, on the side of the block somewhere. Found one right there. It's going to be oil pressure because it's close to the oil filter. But I think this might be it right here. Problem is it's looking much larger than the hole that we got to work with. Let's go unthread that. Yeah, sometimes I just scare myself. Yeah, let's go tape that up. Hopefully that thread is the same. I wonder if I could thread this directly into the block. Like, why is that coupler even there? Let's go look at. They should tell us, right? Looks the same. Might be slightly. This might be slightly smaller. Yeah, I popped that elbow out. That one, and crisis averted. Excellent. I'm gonna go tape that up and we'll throw that in. Yeah, so the water temp is all set. Ran a new wire going around. The only thing that is left is oil pressure and the switch, the gauge that's up on that cluster is just it's a dummy light. It's not a pressure switch, so it's not going to help us with the switch that is here. Is oil pressure, so it's, you know, it's variable. Plus the light doesn't come on. I tried grounding it and it didn't make any difference, so it's not working anyway. All right, we are to the point of getting the radiator depends on where you're from, back in this thing. And I have brackets made up that hang, you saw from the beginning of the video, that kind of hang in the front. But one of the other videos, I was working with putting an electric fan on it. It comes with a kit and, you know, a thermo switch that turns it on and off as needed. And I got a variable one. They were saying that you could take the fan blade off and flip the blade around because I'll show you. So here's the fan. And like I said, I reversed the polarity and the blade will spin the other direction. But the blades are cut in a way that it's probably, if you run it backwards, it gets a third of the power. But somebody was saying you could take the blade off of this fan, flip the blade around, you know, leave the polarity the same, and it'll blow the other direction. What that gives us, this is the engine side of it, and the other side is the open side. We were really kind of tight for room. Let's get this off of here and take a look at that blade and see if that may help us. Yeah, so I guess the idea is, instead of, like right now, we'll be pulling air through the radiator, you could push it through on the other side. Get this out of here. I don't know. Let's shits and giggles. We'll take the bolt out of it and we'll see if we can flip this fan over. and see if it's universal. If so, we might be able to put the fan on the other side of the system. Looks the same on both sides. Now look at that. That did buy us something, right? Yeah. So now we should be able to put it on the other side and have it push air. All right, let's go plop. I'm gonna put the bars I made up back on the radiator. We'll get the radiator kind of back in the hole, and we'll see how that fan will fit on the other side of the system. I just got it kind of mocked up where it goes. Nothing's tight, it's kind of sitting in there. But that's where I originally kind of made room for it to sit in there, and it's tight. I mean, I think it was like almost right up against this housing right here. But it did kind of fit. But now that we're talking about possibly putting it on the outside, again, I made everything to fit that dimension. What do we have for room? Well, the other part would be good too. We can kind of get the fan maybe in the center of it. Let's go. I don't know if you want to tape it or what. Actually, let's go just take a tape measure. We'll measure in between that fin in there. We'll see how much space we got. We could probably also maybe modify those brackets, kick the radiator in. You have to worry about this though. We're close to the water pump, but that bottom can come in about 3/4 of an inch or so, I'd say. All right, our fan is, let me get in there. I'm gonna call that 3.5 to that nub. And we have, it's gonna be like right at 3.5. There's a taper right here. Which is a way to, so we'd have to kick it in. Oh, they made those brackets and everything though. We actually just have to take a bit of the bend out of the bottom and kick it in. Let's go, I'm gonna figure out some kind of way to hang that fan on there real quick. So I let the radiator kind of push inward. You can see it's not up against the mount that it is normally on. We're still clearing that pulley by a ½ inch or so. Close the door. Yeah, that's the problem. It's hitting right on the nub of that motor. Drill a hole for it. Let's I think we're kind of reinventing the wheel. I do like the idea that we're able to flip it over, get the fan on the other side. It would have made probably a little bit easier to, you know, just access your hands back here doing stuff. The light's getting you. But I think we're going to go with the original setup and see how that works out for us. We could always revisit it if we have to. We could always shim the door out too. But let me go put it the way we had it and see if that works out for us. I'll kind of speed this up and we'll kind of get it done. Kind of finalized this position. It's got a neat looking little mounting kit. You push right through the radiator with these kind of like funky tie wraps. They got little pads that won't let it chafe, and then they're spring loaded to give it just a little bit of movement. And we just cut off the excess. Well, looks like the last piece is to put a thermostat in. I picked up an adjustable one for the radiator, and you can kind of dial it in and probably set it up for like, you know, maybe 180 or so here when you turn it down. So right now it's saying about 65 degrees in here, and that's actually about right where it comes on. So it just has a pretty simple wiring diagram. Got a relay, the fan, ground the fan, ground the relay. It's got a circuit breaker in it in case something shorts out, and then just hook it to the battery. And basically what the idea is, it's allowing you to put large power to the fan. The fan draws a lot of power, so you wouldn't want to run it directly through a switch. So that's where the relay comes in. The relay is able to handle the power, and then the switch just tells the relay when to turn on and off without, trying to cook the switch. So I'm gonna take a little bit of time. I'll get that set up. We can put some fluid in it, see if it works. Well, it's about time. Yeah, I know. So I got everything wired on that thermo switch. I think the switch part of it with the little thermostat is no good. It's got 3 terminals coming out of it. When you turn it down where we had it where it was clicking, it doesn't turn the fan on. But if I put the test light to the open terminal, it does the inverse. In other words, the light turns on when I turn it. I'll show you. So one side of it's working, one side of it's not working. We'll see when it heats up whether it will turn the fan on or not. Here's the probe right here. It's just kind of, you stick it in the radiator, I think. And as the temperature, it senses the temp in the radiator at a certain temperature, it turns the fan on. I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, so the key is on. You hear the fuel pump going. And if I turn this down all the way, where it does that click, it's 40 degrees, the fan should be running right now. I'll show you if I jump the probe. You can hear it run. So it gets a signal from the key to let it know that it's on and that it's still lighting up. And right now it should have an output on that terminal, and it doesn't. Now the other side, watch when I let it go, click the other way, which is probably the other side. That side click, that side energizes. So it energizes, I want to call it this is pretty much like a universal switch. It's not meant just for this, but this side of the terminal is working, this side is not. So this should be, first I'll show you on this side. Watch, I'll turn it down, shuts off, and turns on. This side does nothing. So I have a feeling that switch is no good. Not doing what it's supposed to be doing. I know I'm not explaining it very well, but it's late. I'm getting tired. This should be the inverse. So one's normally open, one's normally closed, and you can adjust it from the thermostat, but I don't think it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. That's what you get. I think the thing was like 20 bucks altogether. So just like everything else we get, it sucks. All right, we got coolant in it. Let's fire it up and see what it does and let it run a little bit. Let's go run the wheels through a cycle, see what they do. I'm gonna shut off and hop in. I want to try squishing myself from the outside. fuel gauge works. The voltage gauge works. Temp was staying on cold. It didn't move at all. But again, it's probably going to take a little while for it to warm up. The wheels have a creak to them, and it does not, it's always in. Someone was saying like when you lift the bar up, it puts the wheels in neutral. It doesn't. They're turning. They're creeping all the time, but I think we can kind of adjust that. Let's take a peek in the back and see if we're causing any mass issues. It looks right. Yeah, let's go turn that all the way down. It is all the way down. I don't think that's any good. The other side of it should have done something. It's probably going to take a while for it to get any kind of heat in it. Yeah, we're not even. We're like 70 degrees. I'm going to open the door. I'm going to let it run. And just let it run for, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes. Kind of see what happens. Like a better explanations. See antifreeze dripping. But I think it's right where that knuckle is. Yeah, try tightening those two hoses up. Maybe we don't got it all the way. That's just a piece of pipe that's stuck in there. And that looks pretty good. Flowing pretty good. I doubled up those clamps. Looks like it's got it. It lives. It creeps too. I guess we got to get into that. They're adjustable. You know, pretty much you pull back on the sticks, it does stop. You just got to find that neutral position. I'm thinking too that I may want to run it a little bit, and we'll see what it settles into. Sometimes when a pump heats up, you know, the controls heat up, it kind of flips the other direction. Got to make up an air cleaner for it. I think there's enough room up above to get it. Worst case, I may put it on top. That's where it was before. Turn the fan on so it just stays on. I swap the wires around. Sucked out at 77. Going in, the water's going in at 113, 114. And the fan is on. I'm going to close the door for a little bit. That running for 10 minutes with the door shut. Same, it hasn't changed. Like I said, I had the fan hooked up to the switch on the opposite side. It's kind of working backwards. So if I turn it, if I turn it so it turns on cooler, it comes on, it comes off. So right now it should be on. It's off. That's because I picked the other side of that terminal. Like I said, if I were to go back, put it back to where it was, we got nothing. That switch isn't working on one side, unfortunately. So for now, anytime the key's on, the fan can run. It's got a decent flow through it. And the thermostat still works to the engine. So the thermostat is keeping the engine at the right temperature. It's just that if it was really cool out, you wouldn't want the fan coming on when it was trying to heat up. And that's the only, downfall that this is having an issue with right now. It's a pain in the ass because I taped that probe up real nice and neat. And there's a decent airflow coming out of the top up here. Did the same thing. This is a cooler for the, hydraulics of it, and normally you had a radiator sitting up here with fans up here blowing out, but it seems like it flows through the cavity pretty good. Alright guys, it's a super long video as it is. I know I still got more to do. I don't know if I'm going to show it. I'm pretty much done filming on this, plus it just takes 3 times as long to get anything done. I got a new seat for it, got to go put on that, it's tore up, got to get the air cleaner set up on it, and I got to punch holes in the door. I was going to use the plasma cutter. A friend has a mag drill. A mag drill is a magnetic drill. You turn it on electrically, it'll stick to the metal, and you could put like 1 1/4 inch bits in it. We could do some nice neat holes, where the radiator is. If we can make them fairly small, maybe about 1 inch. Those that look like they're about 3/4. Maybe go like 1 1/4. We put a bunch of them right in this area, so it gets a little bit better airflow through the radiator. Plus, like a branch one has as easy opportunity to stab it when we're backing up. But it's pretty good. It got to adjust the door handle so that when you turn it down, it pulls the door snug. I got to deal with wheels, so they're kind of like a mismatch setup that's on it. Got to get rid of the creep that's going on. But it doesn't seem like it's overheating. Doesn't seem like it's having any issues. Nothing funky yet. I really haven't put a heavy load on it yet. And, push some gravel, but I definitely think that our engine swap was a success. So this can get out of the way. I can use my lift again because I got a couple of projects waiting for that, and we can start getting onto something else besides this thing. All right, so you can get her off the jack stands using the bucket, at least for the front ones. I don't know if I want to stick my hands underneath there. Let's go get a broom or something. on the wheels. I let it down all the way till they were touching. It's gonna pull it off the other jack stands. Use the floor jack to get the ass end down. I gotta run around, check some tire pressures, and go pull it outside and stick it into something. Well, I know to the average eye, I look like an expert running this machine, but to be honest, I've never run one before. Does it show? Gotta get used to like just the smoothness of the controls so you don't get the bounce happening in it. And you know, that's just gonna take some time to get under my belt. But I don't see anything pissing oil out of it, nothing fell off of it. That's a good sign. We got other stuff to do on it, but we're getting close. It's a functioning running machine. When I lengthen that exhaust, you can already see where it's blowing on the side of the frame right there. I got to get an intake on it. Right now it's not that big of a deal because there's no dust. You know, everything's got snow covered on it, but you know, you can't run it. Can't be digging in the dirt and have it suck all that crap in. I don't see anything rubbing. I fixed the door on the back so that it latches. Isn't all flopping around. Let's see how we're doing inside here. It was kind of good to actually bounce it a little bit, see if anything did shake loose or hit or touch. But I think we're good. I don't see anything being much of an issue. Again, the air cleaner, we still have to go run. I'm either going to put it right here or right inside here. I also got to do hydraulic fluid, check that. I got tires for it. I got some used tires and rims for it. So I got to go through them, try to get the best combination. You can see like the two of these are yeah, they're mismatched rims as far as their width. I don't know if that affects it at all, but I would like to at least try to match them a little bit better than what they are. As far as this project really kind of kicked my ass. It wasn't hard, it just needed a lot more than I expected it to, and what I paid for it. You know, what I paid for it and everything that I put into it, I could have just bought a running machine, but then we'd have nothing to watch, right? Alright guys, I think that's going to be the point where we're going to wrap it up, and we'll get on to something else now that I can get to my lift and I'll have this tucked underneath it, and this can get some work done around my my cabin. And one more piece I would like to try to get. I'd like to get like a mini excavator. Yeah, I know, right? And keep an eye out for one of those. They're terribly expensive too. Any of the stuff that can be hauled on like a heavy car trailer seems to be very pricey. The bigger stuff you actually can get for about the same price. But I want the capacity of being able to move it around from place to place. Neat! Well, we took a trashed skid steer and put an engine that's not supposed to be in it. Did all the modifications it took to get it to that point. And it's kind of like, I guess I'm paying my initiation fee with these things. Like I said, I never had one, so I wanted to indulge, and we did. Alright guys, with that, I think I'll sign off. Thank y'all for hanging out with me, having some fun wrenching, gluing stuff back together, and we'll do it again sometime soon. Till then, I'll see you later. Oh, piles.